Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to explore two interesting coins from Canada that many collectors still search for today. The Canadian 1-cent coin 1967 and the 1992 Canadian 1-cent coin. At first glance, these coins may look like ordinary copper pennies, but they carry history, beautiful designs, and sometimes surprising collector value. Many coin collectors around the world enjoy studying Canadian coins because of their detailed artwork and the historical stories behind them. If you have old coins at home or enjoy searching through coin jars, these two pennies are definitely worth learning about because certain examples in excellent condition can attract serious attention from collectors. The 1967 Canadian 1-cent coin is one of the most famous pennies ever issued in Canada. It was released to celebrate the Canadian Centennial, which marked 100 years since Canada became a confederation in 1867. Because this was such an important national celebration, the Royal Canadian Mint decided to create special commemorative designs for several coins that year. Instead of the traditional maple leaf design normally found on Canadian pennies, the reverse of the 1967 coin features a graceful flying dove. This beautiful design symbolized peace, unity, and hope for the future of the country. The artwork was created by the well-known Canadian painter Alex Colville, whose work became one of the most recognized coin designs in Canadian history. On the front side, or obverse, the coin displays the portrait of Elizabeth II, who was the reigning monarch of Canada at the time. The portrait shows the young queen wearing a laurel wreath, a design used on many Canadian coins during that era. Around the portrait, you will see the inscription identifying Queen Elizabeth II as the monarch. The coin itself was struck mainly in bronze, giving it the rich reddish-brown color that many collectors love. Millions of these coins were produced in 1967 because they were intended for circulation during the centennial celebrations. Even though the mintage was large, collectors today still search for examples that are in brilliant uncirculated condition with original red color and sharp details. When it comes to value, most 1967 Canadian pennies are not extremely rare, but they still hold collector interest because of the unique design and historical significance. Coins that have been heavily circulated may only be worth a small premium over face value. However, coins that remain in mint state condition, meaning they show almost no wear, can be worth significantly more. Some collectors pay higher prices for coins with strong luster and full red color because copper coins often darken over time. In very high grades, professionally graded examples can sometimes sell for impressive amounts at auctions, especially when the coin is nearly perfect. This is why many collectors carefully check their coin collections and coin rolls, looking for a well-preserved 1967 centennial penny. Now let's move forward 25 years to the 1992 Canadian 1-cent coin, another coin that collectors frequently examine. By this time, the design of the Canadian penny had returned to its traditional style. The reverse side once again shows the classic image of two maple leaves attached to a single stem, a design that has represented Canada's national symbol for many decades. Above the leaves appears the word Canada, while below the design you can see the value 1 cent along with the year 1992. The maple leaf design is simple but iconic, making it one of the most recognizable coin images in Canadian currency history. The obverse of the 1992 penny again features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, although by this time the portrait style had been updated compared to the earlier 1967 coin. These coins were struck in very large quantities because pennies were still widely used in everyday transactions. Because of the high mintage, most 1992 pennies are common and can still be found in circulation or old coin collections. However, collectors are always interested in coins that are preserved in perfect condition. A shiny, uncirculated coin that still shows strong mint luster can be far more desirable than a worn example that has spent years in circulation circulation. These two coins show how even the smallest denominations can tell fascinating stories about a country's history and culture. The 1967 Canadian penny reminds us of a major national celebration and features a unique artistic design that stands out among Canadian coins. Meanwhile, the 1992 penny continues the long tradition of the maple leaf symbol, representing Canada's identity and heritage. For coin collectors, studying these coins is not just about money, it is also about history, art, and the excitement of discovering something special.
Next up, we are talking about another interesting coin from Canada, the Canadian 1-cent coin, 1987 Canadian 1-cent coin. At first glance, this small copper coin might look very common, but for coin collectors, every detail matters. The year, the condition, and even small minting differences can make a coin more desirable. The Canadian penny was used in everyday transactions for many decades before it was officially discontinued in 2012. So coins like the 1987 penny represent an important part of Canada's monetary history. The 1987 Canadian penny features the familiar and iconic maple leaf design that has appeared on many Canadian 1-cent coins. On the reverse side of the coin, you can see two maple leaves attached to a single stem, along with the words Canada at the top and 1 cent at the bottom. The maple leaf has long been one of Canada's most recognized national symbols, representing the country's natural beauty and national identity. This classic design was originally created by Canadian artist G.E. Kruger Gray, whose work appeared on several coins used throughout the British Commonwealth. On the obverse side of the 1987 Canadian 1-cent coin, you will see the portrait of Elizabeth II, who served as Canada's monarch for many decades. By 1987, the coin used the later portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, showing a more mature representation of the Queen compared to earlier coins. Around the portrait, the inscription includes her name and royal title. This portrait style appeared on many Canadian coins during the 1980s and early 1990s. The coin itself was primarily made of bronze during that time, giving it the classic reddish-brown copper appearance that collectors often look for. Millions of these coins were produced in 1987 because pennies were still widely used in daily transactions, such as shopping and vending machines. Because the mintage was quite high, the 1987 penny is generally considered a common coin. However, collectors are always interested in coins that are preserved in excellent condition. When it comes to value, most 1987 Canadian 1-cent coins that have been heavily circulated are usually worth only a small amount above face value. However, coins that remain in uncirculated condition, meaning they still show strong mint luster and very little wear, can sometimes be worth several dollars to collectors. High-grade coins that are professionally graded and stored properly may attract even higher prices, especially if the coin retains its original red color. Copper coins often darken over time, so bright red examples are considered more desirable. For coin collectors, finding a well-preserved 1987 Canadian penny can still be exciting. Many collectors search through old coin rolls, collections, or jars of loose change, hoping to find coins that are in near-perfect condition. Even though the coin may seem ordinary, its value can increase depending on its grade and collector demand. Next up, we are going to talk about another interesting coin from Canada, the Canadian 1-cent coin, 1998 Canadian 1-cent coin. Even though it is a small coin with a very low face value, it still carries history and importance for collectors. Many people overlook these pennies because they were very common in circulation, but coin collectors know that even ordinary coins can become valuable depending on their condition, rarity, and collector demand. The 1998 Canadian penny features the classic reverse design that has been used on many Canadian 1-cent coins for decades. On the back of the coin, you can see the famous two maple leaves attached to a single stem. Above the design appears the word Canada, while below the leaves you will see the denomination 1 cent, along with the year 1998. The maple leaf is one of the most recognizable national symbols of Canada and represents the country's natural beauty and identity. This elegant design was originally created by the well-known coin designer G.E. Kruger Gray, whose artwork appeared on several coins across the Commonwealth. On the front side of the 1998 Canadian 1-cent coin, you will see the portrait of Elizabeth II, who was the monarch of Canada at the time. By the late 1990s, Canadian coins used a more mature portrait of Queen Elizabeth II compared with earlier designs from the 1960s and 1970s. Around the portrait, you will see the inscription of her name and royal title. This portrait remained on Canadian coins for many years and became familiar to millions of people who use these coins in everyday transactions. The 1998 penny was produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, which has been responsible for manufacturing Canada's coins for more than a century. During the late 1990s, pennies were still widely used in daily commerce, so the Mint produced millions of them each year. Because of this high mintage, the 1998 1-cent coin is generally considered a common coin in circulated condition. Many of these coins were used in stores, vending machines, and daily purchases, which means most examples show signs of wear. In terms of value, most circulated 1998 Canadian pennies are worth only a small amount above their face value. However, collectors always look for coins that are in exceptional condition. A coin that has never been circulated and still has bright red color and strong mint luster can be worth more to collectors. Some uncirculated examples may sell for a few dollars, especially if they are professionally graded with a high mint state grade. Copper coins often lose their bright color over time, so coins that remain in original red condition are considered more desirable. Another reason collectors examine coins like the 1998 Canadian penny is to look for possible minting errors or unusual varieties. Occasionally, coins can be struck with small errors during the minting process, such as off-center strikes, double images, or unusual surfaces. These types of coins can sometimes be much more valuable than normal coins because collectors enjoy owning rare mint errors. In conclusion, the 1998 Canadian 1-cent coin may seem like a simple and common piece of currency, but it still represents an important part of Canada's monetary history. With its classic maple leaf design and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, it reflects the traditional style of Canadian coinage that collectors appreciate today. Even though most examples are common, coins in high-grade condition or with unique minting characteristics can still attract attention in the coin collecting world.
Next up, we are going to talk about the Canadian 1-cent coin. A 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin, a coin that may seem ordinary but still holds interest for collectors. Even though it was just a 1-cent coin, it represents a part of Canada's monetary history before pennies were officially discontinued in 2012. For collectors, the year, condition, and any special characteristics can make all the difference in a coin's value, which is why even modern pennies are worth examining closely. The 2003 Canadian penny features the classic reverse design of two maple leaves attached to a single stem, with the word Canada above and 1 cent in the year 2003 below. The maple leaf has been Canada's iconic national symbol for decades, representing the country's natural beauty and heritage. This classic design was created by G.E. Kruger Gray, whose work has appeared on Canadian coins for generations and is still appreciated by collectors for its simplicity and elegance. On the obverse side, the coin features the portrait of Elizabeth II, who was the reigning monarch at the time. By 2003, this portrait had been updated to a more mature depiction of the Queen compared to earlier decades, showing her in her role as Canada's long-standing monarch. Around the portrait, you will find the standard inscriptions of her name and royal title, a feature that appeared on Canadian pennies of this era. The 2003 penny was struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, which produces all of Canada's circulation coins. By the early 2000s, pennies were still widely used in everyday transactions, so the Mint produced millions of them. Many of these coins were circulated heavily, which means most examples today show signs of wear, such as scratches, discoloration, or loss of original mint luster.
However, collectors are particularly interested in coins that are in uncirculated condition, where the coin shows bright copper color and crisp details. In terms of value, most 2003 Canadian pennies in circulation are worth only a small amount over face value. However, coins that are uncirculated or have been preserved in exceptional condition can be more valuable to collectors. Coins that retain their original red color and have no visible wear or scratches are especially desirable. Additionally, some collectors look for coins with rare minting errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled images, or unusual surfaces, which can increase a coin's rarity and value. The 2003 penny is also part of the final era of regular Canadian pennies. In 2012, the Canadian government officially stopped producing pennies due to their low purchasing power and the cost of production. This makes coins from the early 2000s an interesting piece of modern Canadian numismatic history, bridging traditional designs with the last years of penny circulation. In conclusion, the 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin may seem like a small and ordinary coin, but it still has historical and collectible significance. With its classic maple leaf reverse and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, it represents the long tradition of Canadian pennies, while also being part of the last generation of these coins. Coins that are well preserved or have unique characteristics can still attract attention from collectors today.
Next up, we are going to talk about the Canadian 1-cent coin. The 2006 Canadian 1-cent coin, a coin that may seem small and ordinary, but holds significance for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Even though it only had a face value of 1 cent, it represents the later years of Canadian penny production before the coin was officially discontinued in 2012. For collectors, details like the year, condition, and any unusual features can make all the difference, which is why even modern pennies are worth paying attention to. The 2006 Canadian penny features the classic reverse design that has been familiar for decades. 2 maple leaves attached to a single stem with the word Canada above and 1 cent and the year 2006 below. The maple leaf is one of Canada's most recognized national symbols, representing the country's natural beauty and heritage. This iconic design was created by G.E. Kruger Gray, whose work appears on many Canadian coins and is highly appreciated by collectors for its elegance and simplicity. On the obverse side of the 2006 penny, you will find the portrait of Elizabeth II, who was Canada's monarch at the time. By this period, the portrait reflected a mature depiction of the Queen compared to earlier decades, showcasing her long-standing role as Canada's sovereign. Around the portrait, the standard inscriptions of her name and title are present, a common feature on all Canadian pennies of this era. The 2006 Canadian penny was produced by the Royal Canadian Mint, which is responsible for striking all Canadian circulation coins. By 2006, pennies were still widely used for everyday transactions, so millions of these coins were minted. Many of them circulated extensively, which means most examples today show signs of wear, such as dulling of the original copper color, scratches, or minor surface marks. Despite this, collectors are particularly interested in coins that are preserved in uncirculated condition, showing bright copper color, full mint luster, and crisp details. In terms of value, most 2006 Canadian pennies are worth only slightly more than their face value. However, uncirculated coins or coins with exceptional quality can be more valuable to collectors. Coins that retain their original red color and sharp details are particularly desirable. Additionally, collectors often look for coins with minting errors, such as off-center strikes, doubled dies, or unusual planchet anomalies. Such error coins are much rarer than normal issues and often command higher prices in the numismatic market. The 2006 Canadian penny also represents one of the last years of regular penny production in Canada. In 2012, the Canadian government officially discontinued the penny due to its low purchasing power and the cost of producing it. This means that coins like the 2006 penny are part of the final generation of Canadian pennies, adding an element of historical interest for collectors who want to preserve modern examples of Canadian coinage. In conclusion, the 2006 Canadian 1-cent coin may seem small and ordinary, but it has both historical and collectible significance. With its iconic maple leaf reverse and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, it represents the long tradition of Canadian pennies and is part of the last generation of coins before the penny was retired. Coins in high-grade condition or with unique minting features can still attract attention from collectors today.
Last one, we are going to explore the Canadian 1-cent coin. 2011 Canadian 1-cent coin, one of the final years of Canada's penny production before the coin was officially discontinued in 2012. Even though it has a face value of just 1 cent, this coin carries historical significance and is of interest to collectors. Details such as the year, condition, and any unique characteristics can greatly affect a coin's appeal, which is why even modern pennies like the 2011 issue are worth examining closely. The 2011 Canadian penny features the classic reverse design that Canadians have recognized for decades: 2 maple leaves attached to a single stem with the word Canada above and 1 cent along with the year 2011 below. The maple leaf is one of Canada's most iconic national symbols, representing the country's heritage and natural beauty. This design was created by G.E. Kruger Gray, whose work is celebrated for its simplicity and elegance and has appeared on Canadian pennies for generations. On the obverse side of the 2011 penny, you will find the portrait of Elizabeth II, who was the reigning monarch of Canada at the time. By this period, the portrait depicted the Queen in a mature style that had been used since the late 1990s, showing her long tenure as Canada's monarch. Surrounding the portrait are the standard inscriptions of her name and royal title, a feature consistent on all Canadian coins from this era. The coin was struck by the Royal Canadian Mint, which has been responsible for producing Canada's circulation coins for over a century. By 2011, pennies were still used for small transactions, although their use was declining. Millions of pennies were minted, meaning most coins from this year are common in circulation. However, collectors always look for coins in pristine, uncirculated condition that show bright red color, sharp details, and full mint luster. In terms of value, most 2011 Canadian pennies are worth only slightly more than their face value. Coins that have been circulated are common, but uncirculated coins, or those with exceptional quality, are more valuable to collectors. Bright red pennies with no wear or scratches are especially desirable. Additionally, coins with minting errors, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or unusual planchet flaws, are rare and can command higher prices among collectors. The 2011 penny is particularly significant because it is part of the final years of the Canadian penny. In 2012, the Government of Canada officially retired the penny due to its low purchasing power and the cost of production. This makes coins from 2011 part of the last generation of circulation pennies, adding historical importance for collectors who want to preserve these modern coins. In conclusion, the 2011 Canadian 1-cent coin may seem like an ordinary penny, but it has historical and collectible significance. With its iconic maple leaf reverse and the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, it represents both the long tradition of Canadian pennies and the last years before their retirement. Coins in high-grade condition or with unique minting errors can still attract attention from collectors today. So next time you come across a 2011 Canadian penny in your collection or jar, take a closer look. It could be more interesting than you think. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another video about rare and valuable coins. Thank you for watching, and happy coin collecting!